I'm glad you can see people if you want to respond or whatever. If not, we can do it later as well. Everybody, welcome Marisa Hampton from the LifeMark movie. I don't know who all has seen it. If you haven't, check it out before. It's been extended in some theaters across the nation, so definitely check it out and check out this young lady's talents and her performance. And the movie as a whole is just incredible. So Marissa, I'll just get right into it because I know you got places to go, people to see, things to do. How many? First off, how many times have you seen the movie?
Last night. So I did something really dorky. I went to go see it last night by myself with no one. I wanted to go by myself. I didn't want to go with anyone. And I didn't want anyone to know I was there. And so last night was the 6th time I saw it. So I've seen this movie many, many a times.
Right.
Yeah.
The 6th time, did you go incognito, baseball hat, sunglasses, any?
I did.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to sit and veg out and get movie theater food I don't normally do that. And so I went in sweatpants and a big old hoodie and I was incognito and I was sitting there because I was in the back row, the row that's furthest in the back against the wall. And I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, these people in front of me are watching me cry and they have no idea that I am like 2 feet behind them. I'm practically breathing on their neck. I have no idea. It was really fun.
That's awesome because you just never know when you're going to see a movie of any movie anywhere who might be around you watching it too. That's awesome.
I didn't realize that until I started acting, that they could really be anywhere.
Yeah.
Grim Reaper.
That is so fun. That is so fun. That is awesome. Okay. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, a quick bio. You've been doing acting for a while.
Quite a while. So where do I start? Well, I am, most importantly, I'm a Texan. I live in Fort Worth, Texas, the DFW area, and I have been acting actually since I was 8. I've been doing equity theater since I was 8. I started out doing theater on stage theater, stage acting, and eventually it just kind of evolved. I think when I was around a little before I turned 12, it just kind of evolved and I started having an interest for film. And I did one short indie film, and I was hooked. And so that's just how I kind of came to be in this little pond of Christian film actors.
You're born and raised Texan?
Texas is my home country.
That's awesome.
It's my home country, born and raised, and I can't think of a better place to be right now.
What else have you done that people might know or can catch a glimpse of you before LifeMark?
Well, you might have seen me in 2019 in a movie called The Reliant. I was 14 when I filmed that, and I was 18, I think, when it came out. So it was a while. It was a pretty good chunk of time, and I played Kevin Sorbo's daughter in that movie.
Cool.
Alongside Molly Gray and like Jen Gotzen was in it, and it was a fun movie. Eric Roberts was in it, which was funny to meet him, and he had a little crush on my mom, which was funny. And then I also did. I was also on Dynasty on CW. I played young Fallon in the reboot of Dynasty, so I played the younger version of Fallon Carrington, which is fun. It was definitely a kind of a snooty, rich, mean girl, bratty role, which was really fun. And then it is not out yet, but I also did a feature film last summer with a lot of the same cast from LifeMark. It's called Into the Spotlight, so you can keep up with that on Instagram and catch up with updates. It's a really cute, family-friendly movie. So that's just a couple little credits.
Yeah, that's awesome. What got you started at such a young age? I mean, was there anything particular, or?
Well, the reason I started acting in general was because my preschool teacher told my parents that I'm very dramatic and that they should put me in theater lessons. Her name was Miss Teresa, and she said, "Lisa, your daughter's very dramatic. Have you ever considered putting her in acting lessons?" And they were just thinking about it, but they took me to see my first show and I was instantly hooked. I knew from that moment that I wanted to be an actor. I think I was 5. I knew I wanted to be an actor, and then I started doing equity theater a few years after that. So it's just the love. I was so affected by theater and affected by good acting that I just wanted to be a part of it. I think that's what made me an actor. So
That's cool. That's cool.
yeah.
And your parents were, I mean, that's obviously they were supportive and everything,
Very,
you know,
they're
is
very
that
supportive. And I don't know, I mean, some people there have been a lot of people that have kind of been naysayers and asking my parents why they were letting me do such a crazy thing and kind of throwing me out in the wolves, but
right?
their support has been great, and I don't think I could have made all this progress without my parents and their support. So
So just in case people don't know or they're not sure what is LifeMark? What is this movie? Who is this actress that this guy in Tennessee is talking to? Now, LifeMark and you play the young teenage Melissa, and
yes.
there's another Melissa, more mature Melissa, we'll say, because I know that's a thing.
Yes,
Now
more.
you played it.
Yes,
How'd you get this role? I mean, tell us. I know there's a story.
there is a story, and the whole thing was so God ordained how I got this role, and just how I got involved in LifeMark in general. So I actually used to lead worship at my church with one of Kirk Cameron's daughters. And her name is Bella, and she's become a great friend, and she's the sweetest thing. We used to lead worship together at our church in Fort Worth, and Kirk came to our church to have it was a Christmas worship night. So we were leading worship and he came to speak, and it was just loads of fun. And that was the first time I had ever met Kirk Cameron. And so he came to our church and we met each other, and he was lovely and so kind and generous. And after the service, my pastor thought it'd be a good idea if we all got our families together, my family, my pastor's family, and Kirk, and went out to dinner. So we went out to dinner after this worship service, and it was so weird. I was sitting, because I never met him before, and I just knew what he had done, and I was a fan. And so
Say, yeah.
yeah, so we were sitting at this dinner table. We went to like a steakhouse, and I was eating steak while sitting across from Kirk Cameron. And I thought, what kind of a day is this? This is not normal. But on his suit, he was wearing a baby feet pin, tiny, tiny little baby feet,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in the shape of a heart on his suit. And I noticed his pin. And I said, I love your pin. What does it mean? And he said, oh, it's a pro-life symbol. This is the size of a baby's foot at 9 or 10 weeks. And I said, oh, that's amazing. And then he asked me what I do. And I was so embarrassed. I said, oh, I'm actually an actor too, which is so weird to say in front of Kirk Cameron.
Right.
He probably hears that all the time.
Right.
And we just kept talking, and he said, how old are you? And I could tell he was kind of sizing me up in his head, not in a bad way at all, but I could just, like, he was thinking about something.
But at the same time, you're thinking, he actually believes me. I'm not just trying to sell him a 30-second elevator pitch here.
Yeah, and he asked me how old I was. And at the time, I was just barely 19 years old. And I said, oh, I'm 19. And he said, that's really interesting. You're actually about the same age as this birth mother in this movie that I'm about to work on with the Kendrick brothers. And my heart started racing, because I've been a big fan of the Kendricks' work for so long. And my heart starts racing. And he just told me the story of LifeMark. And he said it's a true story about this 18-year-old girl who finds herself pregnant and goes to get an abortion and has all of these trials. And she ultimately decides to place her child for adoption. And then her child comes back in the future when he's 19 and wants to find her and establish that relationship with her. And he was just kind of sizing me up. And he said, you know what? Actually, let me just get you in contact with Beverly Holloway, our casting director. And I was thinking, this is not real. This is a dream. Please,
Right.
please pinch me. And it was truly just God ordained how I even got that audition in the first place. And I auditioned. They gave me a callback, and then they gave me another callback, and they gave me the role. And
I mean, just think if you're like, nah, I don't feel like steak. I'm just gonna go home. Let's not do this today. And
right, I just wanted to have steak dinner. I just wanted to have steak dinner, go home. It was
yeah. Or
so
if you hadn't even sat near him or anything.
right. It
That's
was
so awesome.
ordained and divine, and it was just meant to happen.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Um, so at what point did you watch the documentary and you're like, oh man, this is what I mean,
Yeah.
what was that? What was that?
I actually watched the documentary just a few days after he told me about the story of LifeMark. He did tell me that it was based on true story, and that there was a documentary that was going to be used as the foundation of LifeMark. And so I went and watched the documentary just a few days later, and I was just crying horse tears the first time I watched it. And I'm an emotional person, but it just wrecked me. And
Horse tears. I'm sorry. I love it. What horse tears?
very big tears, very
Right.
big, lots of crying. And so I showed it to my mom and my parents. I showed it to my dog. We all watched it. I think we all watched it together 2 times in a row. That's how good it was. Yeah.
And did you think this is what I mean, what were your thoughts after you watched it other than just, oh my goodness?
I mean, it made me, I was even more drawn to the story and to this role because oh, I'm so sorry, my computer always likes to do that while I'm on lives. After watching the documentary, I was just so drawn to this story, and it made me, seeing the real people, seeing the woman that I could maybe play at one point, it made me even more invested in this story. And I felt like that there has to be room for me somewhere in this, even if I'm a production assistant. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
And Raphael said the same thing when he came across it. He's like, I'll just deliver pizza. I'll be on the prayer team. Just let me be a part of it. Wherein some people could be like, oh no, that's too much. I couldn't do that. But that's awesome that you wanted to be that involved. You know. At what point did you get the script? Did any point where you're like, wow, this is heavy. This is the person I got, or you got a call saying it's you? Is there any? How did all that happen?
As far as like preparing for the role with the script is
just once when you finally found out you got that role and that's you, that's what you're going to be playing.
Yeah, that was
another pinch me moment.
That was a pinch me moment. It was I remember I was on the call with Beverly Holloway and the Kendricks and Kirk, and they actually pulled a little prank on me. And they wanted to get me on the Zoom call to get a recording of my reaction of them telling me that I got the role. So they actually pranked me into the second callback wasn't actually a second callback. It was actually just let's set her up and get her reaction. But Beverly told me that I got the role. They cut me off, and I was so nervous. I thought they were going to just say, "Okay, we've seen enough. Have a good day." But they cut me off and said, "You know what? I think we need to give you the role right now." And my heart sank. I started tearing up, and I said, "That's a risky little game." And my dad was home, and my dad was the first person I told, and I was just too stunned.
What'd your dad say, and what'd your mom say?
My dad, at the time, I think he was 64. He was jumping up and down like a little girl. He was so for me. And I was just so excited that I didn't even know what to do first. I was just another pinch me moment. And my mom, and again, just jumping up and down and squealing, and they were so excited. But then the script came, and I knew that the story was heavy, but once you read that this is what I'm going to be doing, it's just very heavy.
That's wild, because I've been like, yeah, sure. I wouldn't have believed if my kid told me that. Even having your same whole stories and all this, I probably would be like, okay, sure. Did you have any friends or anybody that just didn't believe it?
Oh yeah.
You're like, no, you ain't doing this. You're just playing with us again or whatever.
there
until
yeah, there were definitely some people who yeah, definitely didn't believe me when I said I was going to be doing a movie with Kirk Cameron, and Kirk Cameron was going to be playing my child's adopted father. And some people were like,
uh,
okay, cute story. Yeah, that's definitely happening. And
I
I,
could I can see where it'd be a little unbelievable, but
yeah,
still, I guess depends on who it is. But that's,
yeah.
yeah,
But hey, let me just, I really hope that was an opportunity for some of these people to never,
yeah,
you know,
question you.
yeah, or just kind of like, oh, that's great. But can I have more information first instead of being like, sure.
But just watching the trailer, and I'm sure a lot of people that are watching us now or will be watching us, it may have not seen the movie or may have seen the movie. And I don't want to give anything away, but just in watching the trailer, that can choke you up. Just seeing you and your little few seconds of a couple spots in the trailer, like you have like a really heavy emotional role.
Yeah.
That's just that is incredible. It can choke anybody up. Do you ever think about like, oh, I've made a lot of people cry today? Probably not, right?
Hey, I made my Aunt Jackie cry, and she doesn't really cry, but I made her cry, so I consider
Wow.
it a job well done.
Wow. Now, there's one thing that a lot of people probably don't know is about your little testimony with your mom, that
Mhm.
little story. Would you mind telling us? Because
Yeah.
that's really, really touching and incredible.
Yeah. So, my mom actually experienced an unplanned, excuse me, an unplanned pregnancy when she was 17 years old. And I didn't know about it until I was around the age of 10. She just, because I was about to meet my brother for the first time. I had grown up with two brothers and two sisters, but I didn't know that I had a whole other sibling. Um, she sat me down one day and she just said, you know what? You're going to meet someone in a few weeks, and something happened when mommy was about 17 years old, and you have another brother, and his name is Travis, and X, Y, and Z, and you're going to be meeting him soon. So I just wanted to prepare you. I was like, oh, okay. But that's all I knew.
Right.
I didn't know her story. Um, and that in itself was definitely shocking when I was a small child, and especially when I met him in person for the first time. It was so whoa. It was very shocking because
Yeah.
he I remember meeting him, and he is so tall. He's probably 6'5". He's a very tall man, and he has bright blue eyes like me. And none of my siblings really have our eyes like ours. And so that was the first thing I noticed when I met him for the first time. I looked up at the green giant. I looked up at him, and he had these bright blue eyes, and I realized, wow, we have the same eyes. And it was a crazy moment. But I didn't know my mom's full story until I was preparing for this role. And I was preparing for my callback, I think. And I do a thing that I hear a lot of other actors do. I read my lines in the tub or in the hot tub or something. The warm water just helps me absorb it. I was sitting in the tub, and I get a knock on my bathroom door, and it's my mom. She's like, "Hey, can I come in?" I'm like, sure. So she comes in my bathroom, and she sits on the toilet seat. Like, she puts down the lid and she sits on the toilet seat, and I could tell something was wrong. But I couldn't see her face because there was a shower curtain between us. But I just knew the feeling in that bathroom was different than normal. And she sat down, and all she said was, "I think I'm ready to tell you my story." And I was like, "Okay, what happened?" She said, "Well, it's about Travis." I was like, "Oh, well, I already know you had a kid when you were 17." She's like, "Yeah, but you don't know everything. You don't know my whole story." And so I sat in the water with nothing but a shower curtain between me and my mom, and she just told me her whole story of how she found out she was pregnant and how she survived that unplanned pregnancy. living in a really, really tiny Midwestern town of 1,200 people, in a really kind of in a type of Catholic community where they were more judgmental than supportive, because Catholics have been a really strong promoter of the pro-life movement, but in just in where she lived and that kind of dynamic, it was very shameful. And so she experienced a lot of trauma from that in general, just deciding to carry out her pregnancy, and how that affected her life and her school, her relationship with her family. And it just, she told me, it was like she told me about a whole other separate life that she had. And it gave me a different perspective of my mom. And so I was able to use my mom's story to kind of give my role some, or my personal interpretation of the role some more weight and backbone, because I don't have that experience.
Right.
You know, I'm not a teenager anymore. I've never had an unplanned pregnancy. I don't, and you know, it's an experience you don't want to have, but I didn't have that experience, and so I was able to use hers to give me a backbone. And it just changed everything.
Oh, I can't imagine. Imagine. And that was probably for both of you and for you at this point, you know, studying your role and the scripts and stuff, helping you prepare. Because you know, you always hear about actors preparing for these kind of roles and sniffing raw onions and pulling out nose hairs, anything they can do to try to create tears and all this emotion and stuff, you know. And you just reflected back on that. And it shows in your performance. It's, you know, incredible.
Thank
you. But I mean, you just draw yourself into that, and then after they do the scene, you know, how many ever times they do these scenes, each one so many different times, that's got to be almost even not just emotionally draining, but physically as well. Just going through this. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because something happened on one scene, right?
Yeah. Yeah, something did happen. Yeah, definitely filming those really hard scenes over and over and over and over and over again for probably 4 or 5 hours is incredibly draining, and it emotionally and physically, because you only have so many tears that you can cry, or unless before you get dehydrated, and then you have to rehydrate and then cry some more. It is just so, it was so exhausting. But yes, I did have an experience on one of those hard scenes, which you'll see in the movie. You have to go see it. And it was the, I don't know if it was one of the last hard scenes, but it was, there's probably 3 in my head that I'm thinking of that were the hardest to film emotionally. And there was such a hype about this scene on set that everyone on set, whenever they would see me, would be like, oh, next Thursday's the big day, or tomorrow's the big day. How do you feel? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really nervous. I'm just going to trust that it's going to go the way it's supposed to. And Melissa was always there. So if I had a question about how she did something or how she felt, I can just ask her. But I got to set this one morning, and I had a note on my in my dressing room from one of the women in our prayer team. We had a prayer team. What kind of a set has a prayer team? That's amazing.
Right. That is.
It's incredible. And so I got to my dressing room, and there's a note on my table from Janet, and she just wrote me a lovely note saying that she's been praying for me today as we go into this hard scene. But she wrote something that has stuck with me, and I still have the note because it's just so sentimental. She wrote, I'm praying that God will supernaturally fill you with the same feeling that Melissa felt that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you even know how to take that? I mean, obviously it's nice because it's from a prayer team, but anyone else, you'd be like.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't scared per se, but I was more like, ooh, that's a prayer. Like, that's a really intentional, specific prayer of, I am praying that God will supernaturally fill you with the same feeling that she felt that day, and that it'll show through in your performance. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like, oh, I got chills. And it happened. I went in to film this scene, and this in the room where we filmed this scene, it was just a room that I had been in 100 times, and it's a room where great things have happened and lovely people, and I was surrounded by great friends and friends that feel like family. But they did such a great job. Whenever I walked into this room and they flipped the room around to look like a completely different set, it instantly felt, ugh. The mood
You
was,
felt
yeah, I instantly felt this,
there.
this weight on my shoulders when I walked in there. And we started to do the scene, and out of nowhere, for the first time in about 2.5 years, I had a full blown panic attack. For the first time in 2.5 years at that point. And there was no reason I should have had a panic attack. I was completely safe. I was around people that I trusted, people that I loved, and I knew that who loved me back. But somehow, just in an instant, once
Wow.
came over me, I had this panic attack. So much that I wasn't even really focusing on our DP, who was filming me. I wasn't even focused on him. So half of the time I didn't even know if we were rolling or not, or if we were filming, or if we were just rolling, because I was just so, they thought I was just staying in the moment. No, I was actually just having a panic attack.
At
Yeah.
what point did you like, hey,
Well, I just tried to stay calm and
wow.
do my job, but it got to a point where we cut. We were gonna switch the room around for a different angle, and we cut, and I somehow just like snapped back into consciousness, and I looked at our director, Kevin, and I said, "Are we done? Are we done? I gotta go." And he shook his head, and then at that moment he could tell that this was real. And I got up and I left, and I left. And Melissa and Dawn were watching me on the monitor just over the wall. They knew, and they met me at the door, and they basically just grabbed me. And if you don't mind, I actually have a picture of it, because Kurt Cameron he thought we were just having a nice moment. He thought we were just.
It was so much deeper than that.
Yeah, he thought we were just having a nice moment, but really, I was just losing it. So there's Dawn, and it's kind of hard to see in the light, but that's Melissa, and they were just hovering over me, praying over me. And so Kirk thought we were having a nice little prayer moment, but really, I was just breaking right there. And it affected me so bad that we had to take some time. I halted production probably for 30 minutes because I needed to.
That ain't too bad, just 30 minutes, honestly.
30 minutes, but time is money. Time is money.
Right, still.
So I went in my dressing room with Melissa and Dawn, and we just decompressed, and then I wiped my tears, and I went back out and did it again. So
the last take was the cut that they used, I assume, or do you know?
I don't know, because I don't remember.
Right, which one was which, right?
I don't remember, because I was just kind of unconscious, just kind of,
Oof.
It's hard to explain, but it was definitely a God thing.
That lady that was on the prayer team that you mentioned that gave you that note, did you ever later meet her and hug her or anything, or did it filter away?
Of course, and I told her how much that note meant to me, and and I've talked about it in other interviews and appearances before, because it's just it's just, to me, that's a great representation of a Kendrick Brothers set,
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So you didn't even at that point even feel like you're in a movie. You're like there, even though if you could see there's cameras and all this stuff, it didn't look like a movie set, but then in your other subconscious, you're like, you're there.
Yeah, it was just hard to explain, but definitely just definitely like a supernatural moment.
Now, I'm gonna ask you another question. It's a lot lighter. Now you've been acting since what'd you say, 8, 10, 12 in that, since you could walk and talk, basically. through your life, though. I mean, you're in the arts and all this stuff. But did you ever do any stuff like how Melissa and even Dawn grew up? You know, all the extra tomboy things like fishing and hunting, hiking, all anything like that.
Well, see, I would like to say yes, but well, kind of. I was definitely a little princess when I was a little girl. I would not say that is me now. I would say now I'm a little bit more of a middle road. I enjoy doing girly things, but I also really enjoy like rolling in the mud. Um, and
'Cause
have I,
you have some scenes. I mean, you're playing this tomboy girl, you
yeah,
know, teenager. You're fishing. You're baiting your hook. You're telling your co-star how to bait his hook and all this other
right,
stuff. Yeah, and of course that's part of the movie. I'm not going to spoil that. You have to see it. But
right.
you know, I mean, were you all? I guess I want to know like a behind the scene thing. You all are actually fishing. Was there any fish that's caught, or are you
Yeah.
just not
I, ac-
really?
I accidentally caught one actually in that scene that you're talking about. It was uh let's see. It was the scene that we're talking about. It's a little bit. It's not emotional. It's a little emotional,
Right,
but it's not
right.
like heavy like most of my other scenes. But it was a conversation between me and one of the other characters, and we were just looking into each other's eyes, and I had my line out into the pond. We're looking at each other, and I feel a tug on my line. But you know, actors,
Right.
keep going through with the sides, or with the sides that we were presented. And it was so distracting. Whatever bit onto my hook was pulling so hard, it was so distracting that I started laughing like a psycho and saying, "I'm so sorry, we have to cut. There's something on my line." And
That's
whatever it
funny.
was, I couldn't get it out, but eventually it swam away, and it was really funny. So
Had you ever been fishing before this, or
yeah, oh yeah.
yeah?
I mean, you know,
Did you know how to bait your own hook though?
but I did not bait my own hook for that. I did not bait my own hook for that scene because I
Really?
we leave it up to the prop master
Right.
to do all that stuff.
That's fun.
But yeah, I mean, you know,
That's cool.
I still am a Texas girl, so I
Right.
do like some of those things.
That's fun. That is fun. Of course, you know those kind of scenes. What was out of all the scenes, without giving any spoilers away? And I know you had the heaviest of them all. Did you have any ones that you reflect back and that was fun? Anything you can say that was kind of fun?
Uh, definitely, I definitely have a scene um, with the other actor who plays the birth father. Um, it's like our only cute, lighthearted scene. It's our only
I
lighthearted scene.
know.
But it was really fun because it involved a conversation with the adopted mom.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How my character decides to pick that woman to be the adopted mom. That was such a fun scene for me. But I am kind of jealous of Dawn that she got to go ATV racing and I didn't.
Right.
It was in the original script actually. It
Was
was
it? Oh.
that I was supposed to go ATV racing with like another girl. And I was supposed to like get sick, and that was going to be the telltale of, oh, something's wrong. Like, you know,
Gosh.
I was supposed to go ATV racing in one of the earlier revisions of the script, and I'm so mad I didn't get to do it.
Oh wow, that's funny.
So
But
mad.
yeah, yeah, I know the scene that you're talking about though. That's it's lighthearted, and then of course, you know, I don't think if I remember right in the original documentary, they didn't really even do any. They did some reenactments other than the actual footage, you know. But
Yeah, I know
you know,
they
knowing
talked about
that
it.
phone call, you
Yeah,
know,
I
the
think they
phone
talked
calls.
about the phone call in the documentary,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was really fun to reenact it.
And I'm sure the Melissa probably told you, okay, here's kind of how it went, or did they have a script that pretty much match how it actually went? So and
Yeah,
it's been a long time ago.
I know. I mean, of course, we had a script, but Melissa was actually there, and so was uh, David and his adopted parents. And so, if we ever had a question, we could just ask them.
Right. I'm sure it was.
Um, Melissa does have a script supervisor credit in the credits,
That's
so
cool.
she was a script supervisor for a few things. Definitely, I think for some of my scenes, and but Yeah.
Makes me wonder, like, the people that watch this movie and are looking or already on a waiting list to adopt and stuff,
Hmm.
scratch their head. Maybe I should ask that. Maybe I should ask that famous question that they used in the movie. Not, I mean, because there's so many people that are seeing this, and so many people, so many different angles are like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's an incredible part of the story. It
Yeah.
really truly is, and it's touching because you're like, even if it's coming, it's like, oh, here's that scene, you
Yeah.
know.
I love that scene. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Also, who do you, as far as an actress in this profession, do you have any other, famous or other actors, famous that are celebrities that you're like, I love that person, you adore and respect them, and that you look up to in just their work and their stuff, or maybe you don't. I don't know. Do you have any people that you don't have to name names? Just you know.
I mean, definitely, there's so many people that I look up to, like women and male actors as well. Um, I mean, right off the bat, I look up to Sherry Rigby, who was our coach, our acting coach on LifeMark, and she's a wonderful actress and a director and a writer as well. She's just all around an amazing woman, and her story is also so incredible. She represents. We have some. We have some cool footage after the movie ends where we get to hear about some resources from Kirk and
Mhm.
Sherry Rigby and Roland Warren of CareNet. And Sherry represents the post-abortive woman, and
Right.
with her personal experience. And I look up to her so much. Um, and as far as oh oh my word, I'm trying to think. There was one other, but why can I not remember it? It was a gentleman, and he has phenomenal technique, and I don't know, it was stupid, just funny little actor words. But I would say just all around, I look up to Sherry so much, and just having her there with me was a big help, and she just made me fall in love with her. She's amazing.
Is there anyone in the future you're like, man, if I could only work with this, if I could work with somebody, this person on a project someday, anybody that you're like, if only, maybe someday. I mean, you've worked with Kirk Cameron. You can't ask for much more,
I
right?
already got it. John and Andrew Irwin.
Say
The
it again.
John and Andrew Irwin, the Irwin
Oh,
brothers.
oh,
I mean, they created I Can Only Imagine, Underdog, American Underdog, I still believe, and now Jesus Revolution. They're on my dream board. I actually have
that's
their names
cool.
on my dream board for
Cool.
2022 or 2023, um, and just definitely Jonathan Rumi. If I would love to work with Jonathan Rumi. He plays Jesus in The Chosen.
Oh
Um,
yes,
he's
yes.
just such a natural actor, just incredible. I just believe Beverly Holloway is the best casting director of all time. She casts all of those movies. She casts Chosen, um, uh, a lot of the Irwin Brothers movies. Again, with the Kendrick Brothers movies, she cast me in LifeMark. She is the best casting director. I don't think.
That's awesome. And she may, I don't know if she's watching, but she may watch this, and she probably already knows that anyway,
Oh
knows how
yeah,
you
she
feel.
knows she's the
That's
best.
awesome. That's awesome. So one last thing. I know you mentioned a little bit of one thing that's coming out called Into the Spotlight. Do you have anything else coming out? And first, tell us what Into the Spotlight is. If we want to watch it, or do you know anything you can tell us more about that?
I don't really have much information I can share right now about it with you, but we are on social media at Into the Spotlight
Okay.
Movie, I think, um, and that was directed by Lisa Arnold, who is an amazing director in the faith-based film Pond as well. And
Is it a musical or a movie?
it's a
What is
movie musical actually, and I
okay?
do sing a little tune in that movie, so you might
Cool.
look out for that one. And there's one other thing, but I don't know if I am allowed to say it. I was told not to mention that I'm in it, but
Okay.
it's a great TV show on Pure Flix.
Okay.
On
Okay. Okay. Well, I think I have a subscription to PureFlix, and just keep checking on that, and just keep checking things out. I know you'll announce them when you can,
Yes.
and that's awesome. You know that you have these things coming on. Any? Can you tell us? Okay, check in this on this month in these weeks or anything. Look for
Uh,
my name again.
we just finished filming on that TV show where I finished
Okay.
filming that TV show a month ago. So it's still very fresh. Probably not, won't see anything until next year, but it's my favorite show on PureFlix. So
That's cool. That's
yeah,
cool.
definitely look out for that.
That is awesome. Well, I know LifeMark in itself, regardless of everything, has been an extremely awesome thing for you, and I know it'll open more doors for you. And it's not only just a thing for all these. I've been blessed with being able to interview some of you all on Facebook, and you know, I know it's more, it's bigger than just you, Raphael, and Dawn, and Melissa. This movie is bigger than all that. It's what do you say as far as what do you expect this movie to people to walk away with? What do you expect? What are your hopes for this movie as well?
I mean, I love my computer again. I love that this movie is coming out at this time.
Mhm.
And I'm so excited because I know that LifeMark is going to be used as a face or one of the faces to sort of an adoption revolution, I think, which is obviously more needed now after recent events. And so I'm so excited to see how it's going to make families. And we've already been hearing some amazing stories from people sharing their personal stories and how they kind of coincide with LifeMark and what LifeMark is about. And I mean, just for example, I went to go see it in theaters on the day it came out to the public with my family and some church friends and all this stuff. And a woman who works at the movie theater, just came up to me. She didn't know that it was my movie. And we started talking about it. And my mom told her that I was in it because my mom was so excited. She told her that I was in it.
Of course.
We started talking, and she just opened up to me completely and told me about her story and how she got pregnant out of wedlock. Now she's 30, but she got pregnant out of wedlock a couple of years ago and was kicked out by her boyfriend. And so she had no way of supporting herself. She found out she was carrying twins.
Wow.
She delivered the twins, but one of them was stillborn. And her son lived. And she barely has a high school degree, a high school education. She has some learning disabilities, so she can't read. And so she is kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And she just poured out her whole story to me. And I was just standing there completely in shock of how this woman, she is so, like, she felt like she could tell me this. And she thanked me over and over for she said, thank you for making these movies. And I said, well, I'm just a part of one, like I am such a small part of all of this. But I mean, she was just so thankful for LifeMark, just because she felt like she saw herself being represented up there, and it was just it's already changing lives and changing homes. That's more than that's the point of this movie, is to change lives, and it already is. And I get to see it firsthand. It's amazing.
And that's one of the reasons, one of many, back in June when it was announced and the trailers were out, I felt such a heaviness on my heart. Like, this is something you've got to do. You got to be involved with promoting, doing something. And then, knowing Melissa, knows part of her, even if I didn't, I'd have still, been beating this drum all summer long, because I had told so many, I'm like, this is going to be a monumental movie.
Right.
It's going to save lives and change lives. And it's definitely already has. And that's awesome. That is so awesome.
Definitely.
And I know I said this, but one last question: how has it helped you? Has it helped encourage you be more pro-life, and how was all that? Because you were already pro-life,
Yeah,
but
I was already
has it?
before,
Yeah,
yeah, before I got involved in LifeMark, but it completely, I guess it just made me more passionate about
right,
this. I've always been pro-life. That's always been my non-negotiable when it comes to
right.
voting and just deciding who I vote for in office or local office. But I've always been pro-life, but something about it just completely changed my heart, and
Yeah,
it stopped me from taking certain roles involving abortion. I turned down a very exciting opportunity to be in a reboot of one of my favorite shows at the time. But one of my callback sides was my character begging for an abortion at 7 months into her pregnancy. And she didn't go through with it. She had a moment, the character did, and she has her baby. But I was
yeah,
reading it and I was like, you know what, acting is acting, yeah, but I can't do this because
yeah,
I just finished a movie about adoption and about
yeah. And
um
people,
right. But for some reason I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. I I probably, if I hadn't done LifeMark, I still would have been very pro-life, but I probably would have done that series. Um, but it just LifeMark, and knowing Melissa personally and David, and it's just completely changed my heart and made me even more passionate about this, to the point where I'm not just an actress in this movie. Like, I've sort of become an ambassador for
right,
for the modern pro-life movement. So
right, right. Well,
yeah,
that is awesome. That is awesome. Well, thank you so
great.
much, Marissa. One little quick, kooky question. Your
Okay.
name, Marissa, is so close to Melissa. Did that
Yes.
mess with anybody on
Oh,
set or anything?
definitely, definitely. But even
They
my own,
slip.
yeah, my own grandfather used to call me Melissa, so I'm used to it. It's just,
So it wasn't like it was some weird old name you had to get used to or anything. It
no,
was so close to your own.
yeah, Melissa,
That's
Marissa,
awesome.
Melissa, just basically an L. No big
Well,
deal.
thanks again so much,
Thank
and
you.
everybody check out LifeMark, and you're going to have another additional fan base that's going to follow you. I think doors will be open for you, and including this movie is, like I've always said, all summer long. We may not even see all the lives it changes and it saves, but I know we all will know that it will. Thank
Hmm.
you again for coming on my little Facebook world. I
I'm
really appreciate it so much.
I practically don't exist on Facebook, so thank you for letting me enter your Facebook world.
Absolutely, my honor.
Thank you
Well, you
so
have a
much.
great day.
You
You
too.
gonna plan on seeing it any more times, another dozen more times?
Well, tonight is supposed to be the last night, but they've already extended it another week or 2 weeks in I think about 1,000 theaters. So
Wow, that's incredible.
it's not,
Good
if
to
tonight,
know.
right, if tonight is still the last night where you live, just like look an extra 10 miles around you, and they're still going to be running for about another week or two. And if we keep pushing it, then they're going to keep
Keep having it out. And
putting it out.
yeah, that's awesome.
So
That's
go watch
awesome.
it again. I'm going to go watch it again at some point. Thank
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Marissa.
you so
Appreciate
much.
it. You have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.